All right, to those who are just joining us here on the recording, shalom to you. Uh, this lesson is going to look at whether or not the Negro should keep the Lunar Shabbat, right? So let's get into it.
Shalom.
Okay, so the video we will be analyzing is right here.
Shalom, Israel.
Can you guys hear the volume from the video?
Yeah, I can.
All right,
Shalom,
great.
by the way.
Shalom, shalom. Yeah, so what do you call it? I'm gonna let this play, and then we'll pause from time to time to kind of critique what the brother is saying, right? Um, yeah, that's it.
It's Chaazawan. And the name of this video is The Lunar Sabbath is Wrong. When is the Sabbath day? This is a highly requested topic. I avoid
Now, family, I might skip. In fact, I'm going to skip ahead and stuff like that, just for the sake of time. I'm hoping we can finish this all today, but it might take us to Shabbat to finish it. Um, so just so you know, I'm gonna be skipping ahead to various timestamps, okay? Because some of the stuff he says in between is it just won't be relevant to the to what we're trying to do, right? He'll just be expanding on certain ideas and that sort of thing. So in the interest of time, I'll be skipping ahead sort of to the main points that I want to address. Um, so heads up.
avoided this topic for a very long time for many different reasons. However, everything happens at its appointed time. So here we go. Now, this is going to be a very long video. And because of this particular topic, I'm going to deal with the scriptures like normal, but I'm also going to deal with history and other documentation as well. Now, before I get into it, we have to understand why it's so important to understand when the Sabbath day actually is. This is Exodus 31 and verse 12. It says, "And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying," verse 13, "Speak thou also unto the children of Israel." So the Most High told Moses to speak to the children of Israel. So this applies to every Israelite. It says, saying, "Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep." Watch this. "For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh that does sanctify you." So the Most High says that the Israelites are to keep the Sabbath throughout our generations. So this doesn't apply only to the Old Testament times. This applies to this very day. Verse 14, "Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Every one that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people." So again, this is a very serious commandment. Now watch this, verse 15. "6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death." So here, the Most High gives us the cycle of how a biblical week is counted. 6 days of work and then 1 day of rest. That is the cycle that the Most High set up in the very beginning. Any cycle that doesn't follow this cycle is not the cycle that the Most High gave us. The Most High gave us 6 days of work and then 1 day of rest. That is what he gave us. Verse 16. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations. Watch this. For a perpetual covenant. Perpetual means everlasting or never ending. So again, the Sabbath day applies to every single Israelite that exists. Verse 17. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. There it is again. The Most High is making this point very clear. Watch this. It says, for in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. Again, we see the cycle repeated. 6 days of work and then 1 day of rest. Any counting system that is different from this is not what the Most High established. That's very important. This has to be understood because there are many different doctrines about the Sabbath day and when it starts. However, if a Sabbath doctrine doesn't line up with this system, it is automatically wrong. Now, a perfect example of what I'm talking about is the Lunar Sabbath doctrine. The Lunar Sabbath doctrine says that the weekly 7th-day Sabbath changes days every month based on the day that the new moon comes in. In other words, if the new moon comes in on a Wednesday, then the Sabbath for that month is every Wednesday because it's based on the new moon. Now, I'm cool with a lot of brothers that follow the Lunar Sabbath, but biblically, the Lunar Sabbath is wrong. It doesn't work according to the system that the Most High established in the beginning. Let's prove it. This is a Lunar Sabbath calendar. Notice that there are no names for the days of the week except for the Sabbath day. That's because the Most High never named any of the days of the week. He only named one day, which was the Sabbath day. Now, notice that the new moon day is separate from all the other days. The reason for this is, according to the Lunar Sabbath doctrine, new moon day is the first day of the month, but it's not counted as the first day of the week because new moon day is its own day. In other words, new moon day is the first day of the month, but the next day after that, which is the second day of the month, that is the first day of the week. So with this system, the Sabbath days will always be on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th of every month. And then there will be 1 or 2 transitional days until the new moon comes in again, which will start a brand new month. And then the whole cycle repeats itself again. So the first is new moon day, and then you have 6 days of work, and then the 8th is the Sabbath, and then you have 6 days of work, and then the 15th is the Sabbath. And that system repeats itself until you get to the last Sabbath on the 29th. And then you get 1 or 2 transitional days before the new moon comes in again. That is how the Lunar Sabbath calendar works.
All right, family. Just wanted to address that point that he said when he said that's basically how the lunar Sabbath works. Um, that's actually not how the lunar Sabbath works. Perhaps he was referencing how the particular people he knows were keeping it. But that's not how the lunar Sabbath works, right? Um, let me show you guys the lunar Sabbath that we use, right? Let's see here. Okay, so my critique of what he just said is that there's no transitional days in the lunar Sabbath, right? As of 2025, right? The lunar Shabbat that we keep, there's no transitional days, okay? The lunar Sabbath is kept with a new moon Sabbath beginning the month, right? See here. Same new moon Sabbath he talks about here. So this is counted as Sabbath. Then 6 working days, Sabbath, 6 working days, Sabbath, and so on and so forth. 6 working days, Sabbath. The month has 30 days, which means the next day will be um, a preparation day, which is the 30th. And then after the 30th is the new moon day again, which is another Sabbath. That's how it works, not what you just said.
Now, that sounds good, but this system is flawed. Notice that I mentioned transitional days. Now, transitional days are the 1 or 2 days when the moon is black at the end of the month before the new moon comes in again. Here's the first problem of many. According to the Lunar Sabbath doctrine, the transitional days do not count as days. According to that doctrine, those days are just transitional days until the new moon comes in again.
Again, that's incorrect, right? Again, perhaps he was, that's how the people that he met or knows were dealing with it, but that's certainly not how a proper new moon based um or yeah, a proper new moon based Sabbath is kept. Okay. It might be more accurate to say that's certainly not how we keep the new moon Sabbath. Okay. The month still has 30 days and there's no transitional days.
So you don't count them as days. They're not actual days, even though they're called transitional days. Even though the sun still rises in the morning and you get up and go about your day, according to the Lunar Sabbath doctrine, those days are not actual days. So basically, what that means is you can have 1 or 2 full days that pass by before the new moon comes in again, and that 1 or 2 days is totally ignored as if they never happened, because you can't count them as days. Now, why is that the case in this doctrine? Because if you count that 1 or 2 days as actual days, when the new moon does come in the next day, there will only be 2 days in between 2 Sabbath days, which is impossible according to the Bible. And that's only if you consider New Moon Day to be a Sabbath day, because some lunar Sabbath keepers don't consider New Moon Day to be a Sabbath day. So for them, they will have 1, 2, skip New Moon Day, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days between 2 Sabbaths, which again is impossible according to the Bible. The scriptures say there must be 6 days between every Sabbath. So to avoid this problem, lunar Sabbath keepers say, oh, those 2 days don't count. Those are just transitional days. Those are not real days. Now, anybody should be able to see that that is nonsensical, and it's definitely not biblical. Where are all these extra days at in the Bible? Why don't we see these transitional days mentioned anywhere in the scriptures? The reason is because that is a man-made doctrine. There is absolutely no verse in the Bible that talks about transitional days where the moon is dark and therefore those days are not counted as actual days. That is nowhere in the Bible.
True.
That's just an attempt to try to fix one of the many problems with the lunar Sabbath. However, it's a problem that can't be fixed because it happens every month. There's always 1 or 2 extra days at the end of every month before the new moon comes in again. Always.
All right. So, he said the 1 or 2 transitional day problem can't be fixed, and also says that it's impossible for there to be 1 or 2 days before Sabbath, according to the Bible, right? So, I'll offer this critique from the scriptures. Because one thing people need to realize is that this whole argument about Sabbaths, new moons, all of these things are actually mute arguments, right? There's a scripture where the Most High say, "Don't avoid strivings of concerning the law because they are unprofitable." And then we'll look at and vain, unprofitable. He called them and vain. But yet, week after week, I see Israelites arguing over when is the Sabbath, when are feast days, that sort of thing. Okay, these are mute arguments, and I'm going to prove it with the scriptures. Now, that's not to say what the brother is doing is not valuable. It is valuable because truth is always valuable. Yahweh Shai came full of grace and truth. Okay. So you cannot say, well, I'm all about truth, and then you don't deal with grace. And then you can't say I'm all about grace and totally ignore the truth, right? But the Most High also says, there are some that he appoint to be teachers, some to be evangelists, some to be healers, and so forth and so on. So there is information that brothers have that needs to be learned, man, by other people because the Most High, you know, ordained them to be te teachers of a particular order. Now, what if you haven't met one of these teachers, right? What if you don't understand the knowledge that they're bringing forth, man, right? At the end of the day, the Most High makes a concession for that, right? I already said how. Yahushai came full of grace and truth, and that's why we have scriptures like this, right? Um, Saba, read this one, please. From verse 9 to verse 13.
For we know in part, and we
Come a bit closer.
and we prophesy in part.
So hold
But
on a second. So we know everything, and so we preach everything 100% correct. Is that what the scripture said? Sabs, is that what the scripture said?
no,
What did it say?
it said we know in part, and we prophesy in part.
That's right. So we don't know everything, man. So when we preach, we can't preach complete whole knowledge, man. That's coming. All we can do is the best we can do. That's all we can do. So for the brother to say that 1 or 2 transitional days before Shabbat is uh, not possible, um, according to the Bible, is wrong. It is possible because if that is the understanding that a person has, that is permissible according to the scriptures, right? We still seek truth, but if somebody doesn't have the whole thing, it's permissible. And this is why the Most High put forth these particular scriptures we're about to read. Go ahead.
But when that which is perfect is come home, then that which is in part shall be done away.
Right. So the Most High tell you straight, this part preaching, this part prophesying is only gonna be done away with when that which is perfect comes, man. When Yahweh Shai returns and teaches us the perfect will of Yahweh, man. The perfect understanding of the word, every word, what it's supposed to be, exactly what we're supposed to do. That's when the perfection is going to come, man. You know, in the ordinances, man, and in the law. Before that, we are only made perfect by the grace of the high priest, Yahweh Shai, man. Right? Before that, we know partially and we preach partially. Right? Read on.
When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
Mhm.
For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known.
You see that? The man said again, he reiterated the point. He said, now we see through a glass darkly, man. But when the time comes, we're gonna see face to face. There won't be no questions. Now I know in part, right? The religious people don't know anything. The ones who know, we who the Most High has revealed his secrets to, the Bible says we know in part, man. Right? But a time is gonna come when we gonna know the same way that the Most High know us, and the Most High know us completely. So we will know completely. Right? And then he goes ahead and lets us know what really matters in this walk with Yahweh. And it's certainly not keeping the same Shabbat uh, as other Israelites, man. It's certainly not keeping, um, I'll leave it as at that. It's certainly not keeping what you don't know or you don't understand. Here's the thing that's important. Go ahead.
And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three. But the greatest of these is charity.
Right, and we looked at many times that the great that word charity is really agape, which is love, man. So these three remain faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And just to back that up, right there in verse 1, it tells you, listen, if you can speak the tongues, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become sound as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Though I have the gift of prophecy, I can tell the future and understand all mysteries of the scriptures and all knowledge, which the brother said we don't have all knowledge. He said, even if I could understand all the knowledge and I knew the future, okay, and I understand all the mysteries in the Bible, all the dark sentences, the whole book of Revelation, I know it back to front. Even if I have all faith, I believe every last thing the Most High says to a T. I have zero doubt in me so that I can remove mountains and I don't have love for my people. I am nothing, man. Why am I saying for my people? Because we Israelites understand that the love we are to have is for our people, right? And when you read in the historical record, hey, these rulers knew it too. I can't remember the exact guy's name, but he quoted saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that the Jews, meaning us, the Israelites, deal with everyone else, with our people with ultimate love, but we deal with everybody else like they're our enemies. Edomite said that, man. In the so-called Middle Ages, when he saw how we were moving, he said, listen, these people deal with tenderness, what was the word he used? Tenderness with their own people, but they deal with other people like enemies, man. Right? So in all these things that we are teaching and learning in the Israelite nation, which are good to learn, truth is good to learn. The most important thing is brotherly love. So when you don't know truth and you're doing your best, once you have that brotherly love component, you're going to take the win. The things that we will learn by the time we finish this lesson, some people may never learn, but that doesn't disqualify them from the grace of Yahweh through Yahweh Shai the Prince. You know, just wanted to make that clear. So that's one scripture telling us, hey, listen, we're gonna prophesy in part, okay? We're not gonna know everything that's going down, right? Hey, but as long as you move in that spirit of brotherly love, you're gonna be good. Here's another one. Let's go to Colossians 2. Right? Let's get 15 to 17. KK. 15 to 17. KK, come on.
And having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them.
Triumphing over them. So being victorious over them.
Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink, or in respect of an holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Yahushua.
Right. So the brother said plainly, Yahweh Shai spoiled all principalities and powers, all rulerships and dominions. Okay. He is victorious over them all. So he's the boss. He decides what goes and what doesn't go in this earth. Right? And he tells you that the Most High gave him all power. All power in heaven and on earth has been given unto me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, of the Holy Spirit, and surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age. Matthew 28 from 19 on down. Right? And of course, we know all nations is a mistranslation for all tribes, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. Right? Revelation 21 and 12 on down lets you know that the kingdom is for the nation of Israel. Romans 9, 1 to 7 as well. So he says, don't let anybody judge you in the keeping of the new moon and the Sabbath days and the holy days, man. Which means no man can judge you for keeping these things. If you are keeping these things in good faith towards Yahweh, with the knowledge and understanding that you have, you cannot be judged by man for keeping it how you're keeping it. Which is why I say this is a mute point and a foolish argument when brothers and sisters want to fight about this. Don't fight about it. Show people the truth. They will see it or they will not see it. And that's if you know the truth about it, right? So Let's go to Mark chapter 2. Sister Kira, can you read? Sister Kira, can you read? All right, Sabs, bring it out. Saba,
Okay, verse 25.
verse 27, nice and loud. You're a bit too far from the mic.
And he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath.
Read on.
Therefore the Son of Man is Yahweh also of the Sabbath.
Read that in the context that made sense. That doesn't say Yahweh there. Lord also means master or ruler. Okay, so read that within its context.
Therefore the Son of Man is master also of the Sabbath.
That's it. So Yahweh Shai is also the master of the Sabbath. And Yahweh Shai taught the disciples that no man can judge you in the keeping of the Sabbath. And by the time we finish this lesson, either today or next Shabbat, Lord willing, we will find out why he says that, right? We'll find out why. Okay. I just want to make that clear, but we will still and always seek to know, do and know truth, man, right? But sometimes we don't know, and that's okay. All right, so let's go on.
Now, if those days are not real days, what do you do on those days? Do you rest? Do you work? Where are the instructions in the Bible of what to do with these extra days? There are no instructions because this is a man-made doctrine. Now again, according to the Lunar Sabbath doctrine, the weekly Sabbath can only fall on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th day of every month. So if I'm able to show the weekly Sabbath in the Bible even once on a different date, the whole Lunar Sabbath doctrine falls completely apart. So let's do it. This is 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 5. It says, And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat, but let me go that I may hide myself in the field unto the 3rd day at even. So this was the day before the new moon, and at this time King Saul hated David, and David knew it. So he told Jonathan that he was going to hide out in the field until the 3rd day.
So that day that Jonathan and David had that meeting was the day before the new month. So what day would that have been, family? What date would that have been that they had the meeting? What is the day before the new moon? What date comes before the new moon?
The 30th day of the month.
The 30th day, that's right. So it would have been the conversation would have happened on the 30th day of the month, right? Let's go on.
Let's jump down to verse 18. It says, Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. Verse 19, And when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly, and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself when the business was in hand, and shalt remain by the stone Ezel. Now, let's jump down to verse 24. It says, so David hid himself in the field, watch this, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat, meaning King Saul sat down to eat. So this is new moon day, the first day of the month. Verse 25, it says, and the king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Verse 26, nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought, something hath befallen him. He is not clean, surely he is not clean. Now, watch this. Verse 27, it says, and it came to pass on the morrow, this is the day after new moon day, it says, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to me, neither yesterday nor today?
So just to be clear, new moon day is the first day of the month. So the second day of the month is the day after new moon day, right? Just to make that clear.
So here we see that the day after new moon day was the second day of the month, according to the Bible. So that proves that new moon day is the first day of the month. So at this point, it's the second day of the month, and David still didn't show up to eat. So Saul gets mad at David and threatens to kill him. Now, let's jump down to verse 34. It says, so Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger and did eat no meat the second day of the month. For he was grieved for David because his father had done him shame. Verse 35. And it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field. Watch this. At the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. Remember, they had planned to meet on the third day in verse 5.
And they planned to meet on the third day in the evening, right? So he went out the third day since morning, right? And he met with David. That's why it says at the appointed time. All right. So he went out the second day, he didn't eat any food. The third day, from morning time, he left the house because he was vexed with his dad, right? And he left, right? And then he met up with David, at the appointed time while he was out on road, essentially, right?
So that's what's happening now. Let's jump down to verse 42. It says, and Jonathan said to David, go in peace, for as much as we have sworn, both of us in the name of Yahweh, saying, Yahweh be between me and thee, and between my seed and thy seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. So David left. Now, let's pick it up at 1 Samuel chapter 21, verse 1. It says, then came David to Nob to Ahimelech the priest. And Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, why art thou alone, and no man with thee? Verse 2. And David said unto Ahimelech the priest, the king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee. And I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. So David told the priest that Saul sent him to do some business, but actually David was on the run. Now, watch what David says next. Verse 3. Now therefore, what is under thy hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. So David asked the priest for 5 loaves of bread, because he and his men was hungry. He hadn't eaten because he was on the run. Verse 4. And the priest answered David and said, watch this, there is no common bread under my hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. So the priest told David that he didn't have any regular bread. He only had the holy showbread that he just took out of the temple.
Notice that he says that the priest only had the showbread that he just took out of the temple, right? Later on, he's going to say that the showbread had been taken out of the temple that particular day. But we're going to see that the scripture reading actually doesn't say that the bread was taken out of the temple that particular day. It actually says that it was taken out in the day that it was taken. Okay. And when we get to that, I'm going to offer you guys some insight into what day that would have been, or the possibilities of days. All right. Because we're doing an investigation to see, hey, is what the brother's saying true, or is what he's saying not true? Right. And this is a good exercise for us as Israelites, because when we watch stuff, we should be able to determine. Um, we should be critical. Okay, be a critical thinker, right? Like the Most High says. Don't just believe every word, right? So let's keep going.
Only the priest was supposed to eat that bread, but he told David he would give it to him if he was ceremonially clean. Verse 5. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us. Watch this. About these 3 days since I came out, meaning since he came out from where he was hiding at. We know he was.
That's also an assumption. He said these 3 days since I came out, and he said since he came out from where he was hiding. Um, the scriptures don't explicitly say that. That's a bit of an assumption, and we'll look at what bread the priest um, uh, would have most likely had these particular days that after these particular days that David is talking about. So basically, we're gonna set up the scenario and say, okay, let's say he was referring to the 3 days since he came out of hiding. Okay, then what day would it have been? And we're also gonna look at if he was talking about the fact that you know, so if he was referring to it being 3 days since he left meeting with Jonathan, what day it would have been, right? And we'll see what makes the most sense for what day it was, and whether or not, the priest would have had which scenario is more likely for the priest to have had bread on hand in either of these scenarios, right?
Was hiding for 3 days, according to chapter 20, verse 19. So this is the 3rd days came out from where he was hiding. I came. Watch this. About these 3 days since I came out, meaning since he came out from where he was hiding at. We know he was hiding for 3 days, according to chapter 20, verse 19. So this is the 3rd day of the month when he's talking to the priest. Let me read this verse again. It says, And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us. Here it is. About these 3 days since I came out. And the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it was sanctified this day in the vessel. Now, watch this. Verse 6, it says, So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before Yahweh to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. So the
So note that this is what I was talking about. It says that there was only showbread there, and it was taken from before Yahweh to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. That does not say that it was taken away that day. It says it was taken away in the day it was taken away. Now, in the scriptures, you will often find if something happened today, that it would explicitly say this day, today, and so on and so forth. But the Most High explicitly said in the day that it was taken away here. But our brother is about to make an assumption that the bread was taken away in that particular day. And that's all it is. It's an assumption, right?
only bread that the priest had was the old showbread that he had just replaced with the new showbread. David showed up right after the priest had changed the bread, and he gave the old bread to David to eat.
Notice the brother says David showed up, right, just after the priest replaced the bread. Okay? When we do our comparison, you're gonna see that that's not possible. Um, it's just not possible. Okay, so we'll break it down in a second. All right, but I want you guys to note that this is incorrect, but I'll prove it in a second.
Now remember, this was the third day of the month when this happened.
Take note of that. Out of his own mouth, he said it was the third day of the month. Okay, it was the third day of the month, but it was the Sabbath on the third day of the month, essentially, is what he was saying, because David showed up on the third day of the month, and the third day of the month was a Sabbath. Okay? And that's when the priest, gave him the showbread, right? But that's simply not possible, right? And I'm going to show you guys.
Now, what day did the priest have to replace the showbread according to the law? Let's see. This is Leviticus chapter 24 and verse 5. It says, "And thou shalt take fine flour and bake 12 cakes thereof. 2/10 deals shall be in one cake." So this is the showbread. Verse 6, it says, "And thou shalt set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row, upon the pure table before Yahweh." Verse 7, "And thou shalt put pure frankincense upon each row." Watch this. "That it may be on the bread for a memorial, even an offering made by fire unto Yahweh." So here we see how the showbread was prepared and how it was set up. Now, how often did they have to do this? Verse 8, it says, "Every Sabbath he shall set it in order before Yahweh continually, being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant." So we see here that the priest had to replace the old showbread with new showbread every Sabbath day, continually. So the showbread was changed on the Sabbath day. Therefore, we know that David came to the priest on the Sabbath day when he was replacing the showbread.
All right, so I want to address this, okay? He said because the showbread is changed every Sabbath, we know for sure David came to the priest on the Sabbath and got the old bread. Now, I already showed you guys that the Most High said in the scriptures, actually, that the bread was changed in the day that it was taken away. It didn't say today. That's an assumption. Now I'm going to show you guys that this third day could not have been a Sabbath day, okay? Because And we're gonna go according to um the brother's teaching that the weekly Sabbath, right, is the correct Sabbath. All right. So let's just have a look here. All right. So the third day of the month would be how many days after the 28th if we're working with the weekly Sabbath, family? If we're working with the weekly Sabbath, right? If we're working with the weekly Sabbath, let's pull up a calendar. Actually, we don't even need to do that. Let's see here. But yeah, let me pull this thing up. 1 second. Where is it? Okay, if we're working with a weekly Sabbath, right? First day, there's always a first day, second day, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh day, right? That's how it goes. Second week Sabbath would be, come on, family, let's go through this, man. Let's hear some answers. Unmute your mics. Let's hear some answers. So the first week Sabbath would be the seventh day, right? Right? Second week would be, I don't even want to see this calendar because I want you guys to think about it.
14.
The 15th.
Second week, it wouldn't be the 15th if we're going with 7 days.
Oh, 14. Yeah, 14.
Then after that,
21st.
21st, that's right. And then after that, 28th, right? And then after that, remember, we're going with a stable 7 week cycle. So after the 28th, the next Shabbat will be seven days after that, right? So if we're counting, maybe the visual will help. We have 28, 29, 30, sorry, 28. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days again. All right. 7 days. It would be 7 days from the 28th. Does that make sense? The next Shabbat would be 7 days from the 28th because the Shabbats are always 7 days apart. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah.
It's a continual 7 day cycle, so it's always 7 days. Doesn't matter what the actual numbers say. Don't mind this. I made this to illustrate something else. But every week has 7 days, as you guys can see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it just repeats, okay, into eternity. So, that being said, David, from what the brother is teaching, had left um, the meeting with Jonathan How many days ago?
3 days.
3 days ago. So, and he had a meeting with Jonathan on the what date? We established that already. It was the 30th. Okay, everyone follow? That's correct? Did he have the meeting on the 30th or no?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So he had the meeting on the 30th. So if we add 3 days to the 30th, we end up with uh the first, the second, the third. So he met the priest according to what the brother is saying on the third. Okay? Is that correct? Double check. Is that correct, family? He met him on the 30th, according to what Chaazawan is saying. And then 3 days after, he was meeting with the priest. Right?
Yeah.
All right. And everybody else see that? Sister H,
Yes, yes.
kiddos. Okay. All right, cool. So from the previous Sabbath, how many days is that?
7.
This date is 7 days from the previous Sabbath? Because that's when he met the priest.
3.
Nope, from the previous Sabbath. The 28th was the previous Sabbath. The 28th day was the previous Sabbath.
Is it the first? Wait.
If this was the previous Sabbath, how many days between each Sabbath?
7.
That's right. Well, Sabbath to Sabbath is 7 days.
Yeah.
Between each is 6, right? Sabbath to Sabbath is 7. So let's count together. This is the 29th. So from the 28th day would have been the last Sabbath. This is 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Could that have been the Sabbath?
No, no.
No, no. It was not the Sabbath, right? This is why I told you guys the brother made an assumption. We do it all the time. We make mistakes. I make mistakes. That's an assumption. He certainly did not meet him on the Sabbath day. Okay? So that being said, there's two bread that uh there's two choices for what bread David was eating. David was either eating the bread the brother took from the 28th day, okay? That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days old. Or if what I think happened actually happened, which is um he said it had been 3 days since he went out from the presence of Jonathan. He went out from the presence of Jonathan on the third day. That's when he went out from the presence of Jonathan. Oh, sorry. Yeah, because they had a meeting on the 21st. They had a meeting on the 30th, sorry. My bad. They had the meeting on the 30th. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3 days. They met again. 1, 2, 3 days after that. So this is Jonathan meeting. Meeting 2. My bad, I made a mistake there. Right? Jonathan meeting 2. Right? Let me see. 1, 2, 3. David meeting priest. All right. So this is perfect because it shows when that he met him when. This is the 3rd day. And he said it's been 3 days. So either he met the priest on this day, met on this day, same day, which is not a Shabbat. Right? Chaazawan said he means 3 days since he came out of hiding. So if it's 3 days since he came out of hiding, then he would have met the priest on the same day, the same night that he met Jonathan after he left Jonathan. Okay? So either he met him on this day, which is not a Shabbat, or he's saying it's been 3 days since I left Jonathan, which would be 1, 2, 3 days, the day after the Shabbat. Day after Shabbat. So when I look at these this cycle, it seems more plausible to me that he met the priest the day after the Shabbat, because he would have had the bread. It's only 12 loaves of bread, right? So it's very plausible that he had bread after the Shabbat because he had literally just replaced it the day before. Does that make sense to you guys? Or do we need to kind of go from top?
Go from the top, please.
Okay. So David and Jonathan met on the 30th. And they agree to meet in 3 days at evening. Copy?
Tom.
All right. 1, 2, 3 days after, which is, let me see that, first, second, third. On the 3rd of the month, Jonathan and David meet again. Yeah? Right? Right? Copy?
Yeah.
All right. In the scriptures, David said to Abimelech that he hasn't been with women these 3 days since he went out. Right? See if I can pull it up. What was it 1 Samuel 21? I think it's 1 Samuel 21. Hold on. Yeah, verse 5. David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out. Okay? And the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it was sanctified this day. So one of two things could be happening here. He said, these 3 days since I came out. Okay? That could mean the 3 days since he came out of hiding. Women have been kept from them. Follow?
Yeah.
All right. If he means the 3 days since he came out of hiding, when did he meet this priest? Because he met Jonathan after 3 days of hiding. So when did he meet this priest? Family?
Sorry, can you repeat that again, how you said it?
He had come out of hiding 3 days. He'd been hiding for 3 days, and then he met Jonathan, right? They met the first time, and then they said, let's meet in 3 days. And then 1, 2, 3 days, they met. And then he left the presence of Jonathan. And he met the priest and told the priest, women have been kept from us these 3 days since I went out. So what day is it possible that he met this priest if what Chaazawan is saying is correct? Chaazawan is saying this when he says 3 days since I came out, he's talking about the same third day. Chaazawan is saying he's talking about the same third day that he met Jonathan.
So it seems like it seems to me like it's the fourth day, either the fourth or the sixth day.
Explain.
Because he met Jonathan the first time on the 30th, which would have been the 30th, and then 3 days, I guess, had passed since then.
Yeah, so it would be 1, 2. Now we're on the third day of the month.
Oh, so okay, so it's not taken into consideration that the day that he met Jonathan on.
No,
No, okay.
no, that it's not 1, 2, 3. It's because, and we know it's not like that because it says they met on the third day of the month. If it's taken
Okay.
into consideration Jonathan's day, it would have said they met on the
Yeah.
second.
Okay.
But it explicitly said they met on the third day of the month, right? So what I'm trying to see is Akazawan is saying that 1 Samuel 21:5 when he says, women been kept from us these 3 days since I came out, Chaazawan is saying that since I came out means since he came out of hiding, meaning meaning what? When did he come out of hiding? 3 days after the meeting with Jonathan. So if he comes out of hiding 3 days after the first meeting with Jonathan, and he's saying that he met the priest the same 3 days after he came out of hiding with Jonathan, what does that mean about this day? How many people did David meet on this day? According to Chaazawan, he met Jonathan, and did he meet the priest or no?
Yes.
Yes, because he's saying it's the same 3 days. Chaazawan is saying it's the same 3 days, which means when he left the priest, when he left Jonathan on that third day, he met the priest that same third day.
So it's not the Sabbath.
It's not possible. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's just what I observe, I guess, from it wasn't the Sabbath. So therefore, like the bread, the bread, he couldn't have been in the temple getting the bread at the same time.
Yeah, it's not the Sabbath.
Right.
Like it's clearly not the Sabbath.
Yeah.
And this is going according to what Chaazawan is saying, because he's saying it's the same 3 days. All right. But what I believe this is actually saying is what I believe it actually means when it says these 3 days since I came out. I think the since I came out is actually talking about since he came out of the meeting with Jonathan, the second meeting, not the first one. So I believe he met Abimelech 3 days after he left Jonathan's presence. Follow so far?
Yeah.
Right. And the reason that makes a lot more sense to me within the context of the scriptures is if you count 3 days from when he left Jonathan, 1, 2, 3, you end up with the day after the Shabbat, the weekly Shabbat. Now, would it make sense that the priest had bread left over? Remember, the high priest is the only one that could eat that bread, and I think his children too, him and his children. They have 12 loaf of holy loaf of bread. Yeah, him and his youths are the only ones that are supposed to eat it, right? It makes sense to me that the day after the Shabbat, the brother might have some bread laying around, the old bread. You guys understand? So to me, this is more plausible that 1, 2, 3 days after he left Jonathan's meeting, he's eating the old Sabbath bread because it would have just been literally a day old. Y'all see where I'm coming from?
I see it now.
Sister Rach,
Yes, I do.
right. Go ahead. Somebody was saying something. Was that Brother Dub? Was that Brother Winston? Yeah. Okay. Was that you, Brother Winston? All right. In any case, so that's what I'm saying. That is a lot more plausible to me because I know for certain it was not the Shabbat. Okay, so I just wanted to present that critique there. And again, this is not a knock on the brother. We all make mistakes putting together the precepts. All right, let's keep going. Let me see.
But we also know that it was the third day of the month, not the 8th day. So that proves that the Sabbath does not always fall on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th day of every month. Therefore, the lunar Sabbath doctrine is wrong. David came to the priest on the third day of the month, and we know for a fact that that was the Sabbath day because Yahushua used this same story to cut the Pharisees about the Sabbath day.
So again, the brother has made a mistake in making a particular assumption, and he's gonna ride into the next set of scriptures using that assumption. Okay, but as we see with the calendar, it's not correct, right? But I'm gonna let it play through regardless.
Watch. This is Matthew chapter 12 and verse 1. It says, "At that time, Yahushua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were a-hungered, and began to pluck the ears of the corn and to eat." Verse 2, "But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day." So the Pharisees told Yahushua that he was breaking the Sabbath day. But watch this. Verse 3, it says, "But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was a-hungered, and they that were with him?" Verse 4, "How he entered into the house of the Most High, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests." Now, why did Yahushua use this example with the Pharisees? Because David did that on the Sabbath day, just like the disciples were plucking corn on this Sabbath day. Again, it was the weekly Sabbath and the third day of the month when David ate the showbread. It wasn't the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, or the 29th. So that proves that the lunar Sabbath doctrine is wrong. Because if there is any weekly Sabbath in the Bible not on one of those days, then the whole doctrine falls apart. Let's look at another example.
So again, family, that's totally incorrect, right? That's just not what's going on. Yahushua did not use that example, because of the Sabbath, because David also did it on the Sabbath, as we saw. All right.
This is Numbers chapter 10, verse 11. It says, "And it came to pass on the 20th day of the second month, in the second year, that the cloud was taken up from off the tabernacle of the testimony." Verse 12, "And the children of Israel took their journeys out of the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud rested in the wilderness of Paran." So we see here that the children of Israel started traveling on the 20th day, and they ended their journey in the wilderness of Paran. Now, let's see how long the journey was. Let's jump down to verse 33. It says, "And they departed from the mount of Yahweh," watch this, 3 days' journey, "and the ark of the covenant of Yahweh went before them in the 3 days' journey to search out a resting place for them." Now we know from verse 11 that they left on the 20th day of the month. And we see here in verse 33 that it was a 3-day journey. In other words, it took them 3 days to get to their destination. So that means that they traveled on the first day, which was the 20th, and the second day, which was the 21st, and they arrived on the third day, which was the 22nd. So they reached their destination on the 22nd day of the month, which according to the lunar Sabbath doctrine was a Sabbath. The problem with that is when they got to their destination, they had to set up camp, which includes a lot of physical work. The whole nation was traveling together. It's a very long process to get the whole camp set up. But if it was the Sabbath day, they couldn't set up the camp because you can't do any work on the Sabbath day. So that means that the whole nation would have been in the wilderness without shelter because they could not do the physical labor it took to set up camp on the Sabbath day. Remember, what happened to the man who just went out to gather sticks on the Sabbath day? Let's read it. Numbers 15 and 32. It says, "And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness," watch this, "they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day." Verse 33, "And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron and unto all the congregation." Verse 34, "And they put him inward because it was not declared what should be done to him." So they found this man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day, and they didn't know what to do with him. Watch this, verse 35. "And Yahweh said unto Moses, This man shall be surely put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp." Verse 36. "And all the congregation brought him without the camp and stoned him with stones, and he died, as Yahweh commanded Moses." So this man was put to death for simply gathering sticks on the Sabbath day. But yet the Most High allowed all Israel to work and set up the whole camp on the Sabbath day? Of course not. That doesn't make any sense because it's not the truth. We know according to the Bible, you can't do any work on the Sabbath day. This is Exodus 31 and 14 again. It says, "Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death." Watch this. "For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people." So no work is to be done on the Sabbath day. You can't have the whole nation in the wilderness setting up camp on the Sabbath day. We saw that Israel got to their destination on the 22nd day of the month. If that was the Sabbath day, they would not have been allowed to set the camp up. Now, the Most High would not put them in that situation where they had to be without shelter. So this proves that the 22nd day of that month was not the Sabbath day, which means that the lunar Sabbath doctrine is wrong.
All right, family. I want to hear from Brother Chris, especially if you're able on this one, Brother Chris. Do you notice anything here so far? Because I noticed something, that I wanted to kind of point out. Brother Chris, you available?
Interlinear.
Say again, babe.
Oh, no. I wasn't
You weren't
talking to
talking
you.
to me? Okay. So, um, according to Numbers 10,
I just wanted to say from Matthew 1 verse, the reason why I think Yahweh Shai brought up that thing about the bread when he was eating was because he was basically talking about the law, because
mm-hmm.
the Pharisees back then used like to put the law in your face mostly.
Yeah,
So I think he was mostly talking about the law, because eventually he goes on to call them hypocrites because they themselves do things that they're not supposed to be doing in the temple on the Sabbath.
exactly. And I think he even talks about if your donkey fell in a hole on the Sabbath, you guys gonna pick the donkey out of the hole,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
right? So yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. And so going back to this now, he said it says ahead that he's basically saying, the lunar Sabbath is wrong because the Israelites set up camp on the 22nd day of the month within the wilderness, and so that shows that the 22nd day of the month cannot be the Shabbat. Okay, so I want to kind of address that because I think there's some holes in that explanation. It says in Numbers 10, the same scripture that he went to, Numbers 10, what is this? 11 and 12. It says, it came to pass on the 20th day of the second month, um, in the second year, the cloud was taken up from off the tabernacle of the testimony. And the children of Israel took their journey out of the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud uh, rested in the wilderness of Paran. And they first took their journey according to the commandment of Yahweh by the hand of Moses. I think that's all he brought out there. It was the 20th day, yeah, of the second month when Israel left. Now, this doesn't tell us when exactly Israel left, right? But um, if it's the 20th day
You have to
of
start.
the second, sorry, go ahead.
I think you have to read the chapter before, and it'll tell you what day they left.
Like what time? It says the 20th.
It'll
Does
time,
it say,
and
does
they
it say what
traveled this
time?
amount of days journey, and then it tells you they rested. It tells you they traveled from here, from this place to this place, on these days. They don't rest. It's not the 22nd that they rest. See, it works out to be the if you go back and you do the days, it tells you it's not the 22nd. If I didn't hear everything which is going on, I'm only just coming back right now. What? It's
Yeah.
not the 22nd that they actually, or it is the 22nd that they rested, but it's not the day when they set up camp and everything like that.
All
You
right.
know what I
Well,
mean? It tells you
yeah.
they spent this amount of days journeying. I think it's in the previous chapter, or if you go down and you'll read, it tells you that it took them to travel from this place to this place to this place in all this amount of time, and then they rested during that time. Then they'll tell you when they rested.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can
Yeah,
well,
continue and read.
yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't even know where you are right now, but I'm guessing where you are.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll just bring out sort of what I noticed, right? Because, it doesn't say what time that they left out, right? It just says they left on the 20th. So does that mean they left the 19th at even, right? And if that's what it is, because we know the day starts in the evening, if they left on the 19th at even, right? Uh what we had here? Let me see. 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. 19th at even to 20th at even is how many days? Family.
One.
Yep. 20th at even to 21st at even.
That's two.
21st at even to 22nd at even.
Three.
On the 22nd at even, uh, can you set up your tent? If you're keeping Lunar Shabbat. Brother Chris,
Yeah, sorry. What's your question? I had to step away. I didn't hear what
that's
happened.
fine. I was saying on the 22nd that evening, can you do any work?
No, by that time you should have all your work completed.
On the 22nd at even?
On the 22nd at evening, yes, which would be the start of the 22nd day. Would that not be correct? Yes.
No, the 22nd day starts on the 21st at even, brother. The 21st, 6 p.m. starts the 22nd day. The 22nd, 6 p.m. starts what day?
So it would be the 21st at evening.
That's right. You'd have to be resting on the 21st at evening.
Okay. Yes. 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 Well, again, the day starts at evening, right? So the moment the 21st starts, there's the moment the 22nd starts, that's when it's rest time.
That's when it's rest time.
Yeah, the moment the 22nd starts, whether it's the 21st evening according to Western philosophy, or it's whatever, you know what I mean? Or if it's biblical, where there's only one evening, the day starts at evening. So if the 22nd at evening can only be the 6 p.m. or 6 p.m., which starts the 22nd day.
Remember, the 10th starts the 9th at 6 p.m. We have scriptures to show that, which Chaazawan is gonna go through. The 10th starts the 9th sunset to quote the scriptures, sunset. But Yahweh Shai says there's 12 hours in a day.
Yeah.
So you don't even need to really wait for the sunset.
No,
It's 12 hours because sometimes
12
some
hours.
people live in Antarctica, not Antarctica, what is it? The North there, man.
And they get 24 hours of sunlight all the time
Yeah,
for
for
periods of
six
times of the
months.
year,
For
or
six, yeah,
complete darkness for 6 months of the year, or something like that.
exactly. So at that time, you got to be able to know how long is the day. And Yahweh Shai told us in the New Testament that it's 12 hours. Are there not 12 hours in a day? He said, you know. The point here being, um, they didn't set up on that day, man. That's what I see. They didn't set up on that day.
Sorry, so does that make it 12 hours from the evening? So that's from the eve till and 12 hours from then.
What do you mean?
So 12 hours in a day, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that starts from the evening.
No, no, no.
Uh,
So 12 hours there's 24 hours in a day. 12 hours in the day and 12 hours in the
in the
night.
night.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
So yeah, so we know the daytime is 12 hours long, and so is the nighttime, 12 hours.
okay.
So if we divide it evenly, we know we can just work 6 to 6, right? Regardless of what's happening in the sky. What we're gonna see as we study further is that there's a reason why things are happening differently, with the moon and with, in the sky basically, and on paper. We'll see the reason. But anyway, my observation was that the count is off. The count is off. He said the 20th was the first day, 22nd was the second day, and the 20th was the first day, the 21st was the second day, and the 22nd was the third day. But if we count even to even as we do in Israel, that's not what's happening, right? The 20th to the sorry, they would have leave 19 at even, then 20 at even. Wait, 19 at even, 20 at even, 21 at even. So if we're going by, let me see here. Yeah, if we're going by our biblical days, they left the 19th at even to 20. That's 1, 20 at even to 21, 2, 21 at even to 22, at even 3 days journey. And then they chilled on this day, the day after. Right? Now someone might say, well, why are they traveling on the Shabbat? Well, let's go to Acts 1 and read verse 12. Bring this out, Saba.
You call Sava?
Mm-hmm.
He's unavailable right now.
All right.
I can read, I got it.
Go ahead.
Acts 1 and verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
Then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is from Jerusalem a Sabbath day's journey.
A what?
Sabbath day's journey.
So can you journey on the Sabbath day?
Yes.
Yeah, you can journey. You can journey on the Sabbath. You just can't do any work on the Sabbath day. But you could journey, right? So, at least in my view, I think the brother calculated this particular point that he was trying to make, right? Let's move on. Let me see what are we doing for time? Okay, we might have time to do one more point. Do we have time to do this point? Yeah, I think we might have time to do this one last point, and then we'll wrap up.
Now, let's deal with creation week. Did the moon exist during the first 3 days?
So, family, what the brother is about to go in right now is of utmost importance. I actually learned quite a very important principle from this particular portion of the lesson, right? So pay attention.
Days of creation was not the Sabbath day, which means that the lunar Sabbath doctrine is wrong. Now, let's deal with creation week. Did the moon exist during the first 3 days of creation? No. Genesis chapter 1, verses 16 and 19 tell us that the moon was made on the fourth day. Look at this diagram of creation week. The moon did not exist during the first 3 days of creation.
Think about that for a sec, fam. The moon did not exist during the first 3 days of creation. However, on the seventh day of creation, what did the Most High do?
He rested.
He rested. Even though there was no moon until the fourth day. So this shows me that on the fourth day of reality of this universe being created by the Most High, he started the first what?
The first day.
No, on the fourth day, he started the first. Kawaka, he started the first what? On the first day, he started the first day, but he also started the first what? What comes after the days? If we're
Oh,
measuring
night,
time.
night.
No. If we're measuring time by stretches of time. So we have a
First
day,
month,
then we have
a month,
no, no, after a day is a
a
week.
year,
Hold
a
on.
week.
After a day is a week. So on the
Okay,
first, so on the first day, he also started the first week. But on the fourth day, he started the first what? Again, we're dealing with lengths of time.
New moon.
Like hour?
No, on the fourth day, Saba just said it.
New moon.
Yeah, with another, what is the new moon mark?
The Sabbath.
The lunar Sabbath.
the
Yes,
beginning
but
of month.
yes,
Oh.
on the fourth day of creation, Yahweh started the new month. He started the new month in the first week of creation. That's when the first month started, on the fourth actual day of creation. What does that tell us? There's a separation between the weeks of creation and what? What's the next one up? There's a separation between the weeks of creation and the what?
Months?
The months. Have I lost my mind or am I seeing what happened?
Sorry, I didn't get that part. I don't know.
Okay. You can see what's on the screen, right?
Yes.
The new moon starts a new what?
A new month.
Okay. So the first new moon was on what day of creation?
The fourth day.
So when was the first month of creation ever started?
On the fourth day.
You see that?
Okay.
But the week had already started though.
Right. Okay. Okay.
This is very powerful information because it shows us the month and the week do not align. The month started on the fourth day of the week, family. I'm not making this up. It's right in front of our faces. The first month started, according to the moon, the first month started on the fourth day of the week. They're not the same.
It's like if time was created on that fourth day because all of them put together. He made the sun, the moon, the stars. It's all a clock, a calendar, right? Everything is there.
Yeah,
So he
but
didn't
before,
create time until the fourth day.
but did he, how is that possible? Because on day one, what did he make?
He made. Oh yes, it says evening and morning were the first day.
Yeah, he
He made
made
he made
things.
light. Yeah, he
Light.
made
Yeah.
things.
He made
But
things.
I guess. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, this one, when I saw this one, I couldn't say nothing because it is what it is. The Most High had already started making things. He already had a week going, and he made the moon on the fourth day of that week because it's not like he made the moon and then he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna wait 7 days and then I'm gonna relax. He said, no, I made the moon on the fourth day, and when the seventh day came around, I chilled. You guys see that? Y'all see that?
Yeah.
All right. Let me see how we doing for time. You know what? This is a good bomb to leave with still. we'll like continue analyzing the video like next week, Lord willing. Yeah, because we almost had time, right? Yeah, so let's wrap up in a word of prayer and with the trumpets and stuff like that. But know that this is the reality that we're living in, family. Our weeks of reality started before our months of reality, and it started our months on the fourth day of our weeks, right? So seeing that, what takes precedent? Even though you're not fully convinced, just looking at the data in front of us, what takes precedence if we just look at this data? The weeks or the months?
The months.
Why you say that?
Because it it shows like it's showing like, okay, the start of something is on, the start of that month is on when the first light of the moon appears.
Well, yeah, that's a bit. We're assuming that it's when the first light appears, but that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Um, was the months created before the weeks? Was the months created before the weeks?
No,
And was the weeks created before the days?
no,
So what's the number one?
the day.
Then what was the second thing created?
Sorry, the after day, then it's the week.
Then it's the week.
Yeah.
So the day is most important, followed by the week. How do we know? On the seventh day of the week, Yahweh rested, man. And then after that is the month. Even though he created the month second, he still tie everything back to the day. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
By
Mm-hmm.
ensuring that the seventh day
Mm-hmm.
he
Mm-hmm.
stopped working.
Yeah.
So the day is king. Um, Followed by the week and the month after. Because the month did not affect the week. It didn't. If it had affected the week one would have been, let me see, what's this day? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Week one, the first Shabbat would have been day 3 of the second week. Add the 3 days, right? To the seventh. It would have been the 8th, 9th, the 10th. Would have been the first Shabbat. Make sense? Make sense, family?
Yes.
All right. So y'all can think about that as the week goes on. But let's end in the trumpet and a word of prayer, right? And for those who are online, thanks for joining us. Make sure you guys subscribe, especially you Negroes, if you want to, learn how to return to your laws, statutes, and commandments given to you by the Almighty God. And to the oppressor, the Most High has nothing but death and destruction reserved for you, and you shall have it at his hand in the end of time. Hallelujah. Let me just stop this recording.